Alright folks, so we are just finishing up our Chapter 5 notes that we started last class. There are extra copies of this on Classroom as well if you need them. But we're going to start with a little warm-up. So you're going to turn to your second, well, it's really on your front page of your notes from last class. And I'm going to have you do question number 2 right now as your warm-up. So that's the one that we did not do last class. You're going to use the fiber data and turn it into your calculator. Just should be reminiscent of yesterday. With your graded warm-up. So the only difference now is you're going to make a box plot with outliers this time. So what I need you to do is enter in that data on fiber, find the median and the quartiles in your calculator, but then calculate the IQR, hand calculate the fences, and then draw yourself a little box and whisker plot for the fiber. Okay, so once you're done, check back in and I should have some hints about how your graph should look. Alright folks, so you should have 2 outliers. It looks to be about 14 and 9. So there are no lower outliers, only 2 upper. Okay? I will be checking your graph on Monday, so make sure that you have your graph somewhere on your paper as well. Alright, so a quick note about box plots and histograms. We talked a little bit about this last class anyway, but remember that a box plot shows the middle half of your data really well if you think about it. You can kind of see that here too, because remember your IQR comes from the middle half of your data. It's Q3 minus Q1. If the median is centered in the middle half of your data, your data is symmetric. If your median is not centered, obviously you're going to have some skewed data. Whiskers not the same length, same skewed data. It's really good at pointing out outliers, but not great at showing the shape of the distribution. So if I ever asked you to describe the shape of the data, you'd want to create a histogram. Alright, what I would like for you to try to do is first of all notice that with these box and whisker plots, they're sideways. So if you took that first set of graphs and just turn it on its side, that's actually how they should look. So if you look at it on its side, they want you to try to match the box and whisker plot to the histograms given. What you can do is just write the letter next to each box plot that matches for the histogram. So take like probably a minute, see if you can try to match them up, and then I'll give you the answers. Alright, how'd you do? So that first box and whisker plot is C. Mostly because it's really symmetric. You can see that the center of the data is all in the middle. This is also a symmetric histogram. B is also fairly symmetric, but again, you have a little bit more data towards looks like towards the left actually, because you have a higher amount here, which means more of the data is going to be to the left. The third one is D because there's, again, most of the data is going to be to the right. So you can see that you have a whisker being pulled in that direction. But if you think about where your median would be, it's going to be more like here because you have a huge spread of data. E would be the fourth one, right? Because again, you have a lot of data to the left, but then you're being pulled to the right. So it kind of reinforces that shape for you. And then last but not least, the last one is A, mostly because, again, look at how spread out that data is, but it's kind of symmetric, hence why this is fairly symmetric. Okay, I would like for you to try this by yourself if you can. Again, I'll explain the answers in a little bit, but you're basically looking at 2 different histograms. One is the temp from 1980 to 1959, 1890 to 1959. And then the second one is 1960 to 2005. So just see if you can tell the difference between what they are. Notice that your y-axes are the same percents, so that hasn't changed. But it's saying describe fully what the tallest bar in 1960 to 2005 represents, and then write a few sentences comparing the distributions, and finally do these offer evidence of global warming. So take a few minutes, pause the video, and I'll be back. Alright, so the first one, the tallest bar for the 1960 to 2005, is the average temp. It has to be between 44 and 45 degrees for about 35% of the time. So notice it hits at 35%. For number 3, I'm going to read you what the book says. The typical annual average temperature for both time periods was about 45 to 46 for the center, with most of the averages between 44 and 48 degrees. The distribution of the average temperatures before 1960 is symmetric. There were about the same number of years that were higher and lower. In the period above 1960, the distribution is skewed right, with fewer years of high than average temperatures. So, with that in mind, it does not show evidence of global warming, mostly because it says in the 1960 graph, there are actually going to be some temps that are a little bit lower. So notice that there's more in the lower temp category. All right, this is showing a few different box and whisker plots, only because then you can see a change in your data over time. So notice this is for each month. This is talking about the wind speed for each month, and what I want you to do is write a sentence about the wind speeds each month. Tell me like what's happening for the seasons, and you can even think about like what do you think could be happening at this time that would maybe create some of these outliers going on. So what you probably noticed is more of like a sinusoidal pattern. So what you probably noticed is that there are more temperate weather patterns in the summer months, and then as you get further out, there's just a wider range of temperatures going on. And then what happens here is probably like a hurricane season or something ridiculous that's making those winds kind of crazy. All right, next up. So this is actually showing basically the same data. This is talking about percent of flights arriving late each month from 1995 through 2005. So this is just the percent of late arrivals versus the number of months. Then the box and whisker plot shows you the same thing, but a box or whisker plot. So again, it's kind of nice because it shows the outliers. And then they did a box and whisker plot throughout the months just to show the individual month. So I want you to take a few minutes, answer the questions below, and then we'll talk about the answers. All right, so for number 5, it's pretty unimodal and symmetric. So basically they're saying it's centered around 20% of flights being late. In most months, it's about between 16 and 23%, so like the middle part of your data. The box and whisker plot shows that the median is a little bit below the 20% line, with quartiles at about 17% and 20%. So it also shows the two outliers that are the higher months, the higher percentages. And those could be based off of like, you know, certain months might actually have late arrivals because of storms or whatever's going on with the scenario. What's cool about the month-to-month box plots is you can actually see what's going on. Again, late arrivals probably happening around storms, so that should help you to see what's going on. The textbook talks about the fact that it's probably snowstorms and then thunderstorms in the summer. Okay, so we actually showed outliers last class using our graphing calculator, but this would be if you want to compare to a side-by-side box plot for both boys and girls. So what I want you to do is actually graph the boys in L1, the girls in L2. So when you turn on your stat plot, you want to turn on both 1 and 2. So plot 1 and 2, but make sure plot 1 has L1 in it, plot 2 has L2, and use the box plots that show the outliers. If you don't remember how to do that, talk to someone in your class. A big thing though when you get to see the outliers, you actually should never throw them out. You always just want to discuss them. So we don't just throw them out, we want to actually figure out where they came from. Now, if it's an issue that you collected the data wrong, and I think we had talked about this before, say you get a foot size of like, I don't know, 60 inches and you realized it probably should have been a 6, that's when you probably want to just recollect the data. So if your data was collected wrong, you might want to recollect, but you never just throw out outliers. Now, if it was just a high foot size, that would be a different story. Alright, so hopefully you got a chance to do the box and whiskers in your calculator, and that way you can see some differences between the boys and girls. Time plots, very similar to the time box and whisker plots that you just saw, but again, it's kind of like what you guys did with dot plots. It shows over time what's happening. Be careful with things like this. This is talking about a stock market, and it looks like it's gone up and up and up, and then the stock market crashed. So be careful with estimating. This is called extrapolation, where you're assuming things are going to go in that same pattern over time. We use trends to actually show like what happened at a certain time period, but not necessarily in the future. Alright, something again to be careful of with histograms versus box plots. If you shift data by adding or subtracting the same amount, so say you're adding 5 to like all your data points, it will change all the measures of positions. Your center, your percentiles, your max min, everything's going to change. Your IQR, your standard deviation. However, if you are rescaling data, say you multiply all the values by a number, all the measures of position, mean, median, and percentiles, and measures of spread are multiplied or divided by that same constant. So they would change in the same rate. Alright, I would like for you to try this by yourself. Think about what happens is a similar question to what we've done before, but say you take the mean of all the scores for verbal SATs and it was 450. If you added 50 points to each score, would it affect the mean? The standard deviation was 100. What would the standard deviation be after adding the 50 points? Think about what these things are, and then we'll talk about answers. Okay, so here's where we get a little more specific. If you added 50 points to each score, how that would affect the mean is your mean would actually go up to 500. It would go up that same amount. It would go up 50. The standard deviation, however, would not change. If you think about adding points, standard deviation is the distance between, or your distance that your points are from the mean. So your distance from the mean didn't change, right? It's still 100 points. For C, the two box plots would probably look identical as their shape, but the second one would have everything shifted, excuse me, 50 points higher. For letter D, the things that would not change are IQR. So remember, if your standard deviation doesn't change, your IQR probably won't either. The max obviously would change because it increases. Your Q1 would change, but again, the difference between Q3 and Q1 would not. If you need me to explain that to you on Monday, please let me know and I would be happy to. For number 9, now we're scaling things up. You're actually multiplying by the 25.4. So for letter A, now you would have 76.2. Okay, because it went from 3, and then you have to multiply by the 25.4. For letter B, the standard deviation is now 2.54 millimeters, because again it went from 0.1 and you have to multiply by 25.4. And then, excuse me, letter C, none of those are not going to change, which is like an oxymoron, but all of them change because you're multiplying by a number. So if you think about multiplying, all of those values change. Alright, so this is the end of your video. I hope you enjoy the rest of class. You guys should be able to start getting your data together for your project. Please feel free to email me with questions, and I will see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day.